the Foundation Singers and their percussion. Yeah, so it's been a long time, but I've been up here. I should have left you with a dope rhyme to step to. Let's take a moment to be with everybody, to look at each other in the eyes, to acknowledge our humanity and our love. So please, if you stand, go tell somebody hi, go give somebody a hug. Yes, let's do it. God is my source, God is my power, I give you everything I need. God is my source. Love that song. Thank you. Miss Donna Brown, how are you? Good. Yes. So our theme for the month has been Trust Out Loud. Trust out loud. And the principles that we're working with today, principle number 8, we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. Number 9, we believe in the healing of the sick and control of conditions through the power of this mind. Number 10, we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. And number 11, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. Trust out loud. I want to start by sharing with you just a couple of lines from Living the Science of Mind. It's on page 267. And Ernest Holmes says this. He says, "There is but one final power and presence in the universe, which is God. There is but one final law in the universe, which is good. And there is but one final impulsion in the universe, which is love. It is only through love that we find the presence in its greatest and can use the power in its fullness." And so what that means then is that we cannot manage or manipulate the power, love, and life, but we can use it, as the reading just stated. And so when we trust out loud, we use life, love, the law, through the changing of our thinking. That's how we use it, through the changing of our thinking. However, trusting out loud is more than an opportunity to change things. Particularly, it's more than an opportunity to change our thoughts. Because some of us, when we find out about New Thought teachings, We are in search of the new thought teaching that is quick and easy. Change your thinking, change your life. That part, for some of us, is quick and easy. And so, the quick fix, as I said, is changing your thinking perhaps once or twice, maybe even 3 times. Changing our thinking where we don't have to give up anything. That's easy. That's the quick fix. But trusting out loud then is, its requirements then is transition. A transition that leads to transformation. So you have change, transition, transformation. Trusting out loud. Change your thoughts, transition, letting go, transformation. And so when we trust or trusting out loud, when we are engaged in living our life in this way, then our trust won't let us settle. It won't let us settle. Trusting then is the invitation for us to let go. And when I say that, I mean certainly letting go in the physical, but more than that, it's a letting go of the thoughts that we are holding on to, oftentimes for dear life. It's a letting go of the thoughts that we are holding on to. It's the loosening of the grip of our thoughts, that our thoughts have on us. It's a letting go of these things, our thoughts, that we've been with for a long, long time. And in many cases, that we've outlived. So it's a letting go of these thoughts, these ideas that we've outlived. But many of us, we definitely don't get the transformation because we don't even want to change. We don't even want to change. And Carolyn Myss, in her book, Why People Don't Heal and How They Can, she says that some of us would rather die than to change. Some of us would rather die than to change. Change, transition, transformation. So the transition piece of it then, it offers us an opportunity to be vulnerable, to pay more attention to the subtleties, to our subtle thinking, to the thoughts that are not so obvious. That's what happens during the transition part. It's the thoughts that we are unaware of. In essence, it's an opening up of our wounds, taking a deep look at the stories that we tell ourselves, so that we can begin to feel where we are. Because not only are we looking to change our thoughts, we're looking to change our feelings. So that when we are letting go, not only do we let go of a thought or an idea, we let go of the feeling that we get from the thought or the idea into transformation. So it's so that we can feel it, and it is becoming vulnerable. And so Brené Brown, in her book, Daring Greatly, on page, I think this is page 33. Yep, 33. She says, vulnerability isn't good or bad. It's not what we call a dark emotion, nor is it always nor is it always a light, positive experience. Vulnerability is the core of all emotions and feelings. To feel is to be vulnerable. To believe vulnerability is weakness is to believe that feeling is weakness. To foreclose on our emotional life out of a fear that the cost will be too high is to walk away from the very thing that gives purpose and meaning to living. Our rejection of vulnerability often stems from our associating it with dark emotions like fear, shame, grief, sadness, and disappointment. Emotions that we don't want to discuss, even when they profoundly affect the way we live, love, work, and even lead. What most of us failed to understand, and what took me a decade of research to learn, is that vulnerability is also the cradle of the emotions and experiences that we crave. Vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. So it is the very thing then about our lives, being vulnerable, open up the wounds and looking at the stories that we tell ourselves that we need. It's the very thing that we need. But sometimes we hide our feelings from the very thing that we are desiring. We move away from shining the light on the very thing that needs light to be shined on. Right? It's like this. I remember when I was a little girl in the house that we lived in. It was a small house. And in the house, the heater was in the wall. And it had like a covering, but the covering was some sort of a metal. And so one day I had taken a bath, and I went into the room to dry off. And when I bent over, the towel came up, and my butt hit the heater with the wire on it. And so I was burnt. I burnt my butt. And so when I was a little girl, we wore gowns. And so I had my gown on maybe a night or two after that. And my mother worked at night, so she wasn't always there when we took a bath at night. And oftentimes she was sleeping when we got up in the morning to go to school. But that night she was there, and I had my gown on, and the gown was sticking to the burn. And she saw that the gown was sticking to the burn. I know, I don't know why, I don't. And she saw that the gown was sticking to the burn. And she said, what happened? So I told her what happened, and she said, no, you have to, you don't want to wear a gown because the gown is covering up. The light can't get in. Nothing can get in to cause it to heal. You see, we have to look at our stories, look at our wounds, so that the light can shine upon them so that we can see. I'm talking about change, transition, and transformation. I'm not just talking about changing things around the easy way, the quick way, because anybody can change furniture around. Anybody can move a piece of furniture, but in no way have we transformed. We've just changed some things around. I'm talking about trusting out loud. And so when we are shining the light on our wounds, on our stories, we are not doing it so that we can change something. We're not doing it to find some way to change the situation. We're not changing our thinking so that we can somehow find a way to change the story. That's not what we're doing at all. We're looking at it, I'm looking at it, you're looking at it so that I can change me. So that you can change you. Change, transition, transformation. And so it's then the letting go and the loosening the grip that the stories have on us so that we may be transformed, become somebody new. And so the stories we tell ourselves, they have the power to become the story of our lives. In other words, we think our life is defined by our wounds, by our stories. But Carolyn Myss, she says this. She says that our wounds and our stories are seductive. Have you ever been seduced? Now, I know some of us might need to go back in the recesses of our mind to get to it, but come on and go there with me. Have you ever been seduced? I don't know about you, but me, sometimes it's hard for me to shake it, Camara. Sometimes it's hard for me to get it off of my mind. Sometimes it's hard for me to move beyond it, right? I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it. Seduced all the way. And not only are our stories and our wounds seductive, they also have an addictiveness about them. We become addicted to it. We're seduced by them and addicted to them. So seductive, so addictive that we find it hard to let them go because we think we might be alone. So hard to let go of our stories, so hard to shine the light on our wounds because things is going to change and we think we might be alone. I'm talking about change, transition, letting go, letting God transforming, where I'm changed and you change. So we think that by looking at our wounds and our stories, that the pain, some of us think that the pain will be so unbearable because we're so addicted to it that we won't be able to stand it. Or we get mixed up about the things that are important. And shining the light on the wound and shining the light on the story, sometimes we get things mixed up. We make the thing that's not important, important. We make the things that are not important, important. Or some of us, we are just so addicted, so seduced, and we can't even imagine a way out. Yeah. Can't even imagine a way out. And so we are so caught up in our stories that we can't see something new. So convinced by our stories, so convinced by the hurt and the pain that there isn't anything else. And so we had Ray here with us last week, and we did a visioning on Sunday. And it gave us an opportunity to look at our thoughts, our ideas, our subtle thoughts, our subtle ideas, the ones perhaps that we weren't aware of. And what we realized, what came forward, was that some of us was holding on to our thoughts and our ideas. Perhaps we had engaged in change, but we hadn't moved into transition. We thought we had let some things go, and what we found out is that we had not. I'm talking about the center of peace now. We thought we had let some things go. We have not. We're still in change. We're just moving furniture around. We haven't moved into transition because, like I said, it is a letting go, but a letting go in such a way that our ideas become expanded. It's not that we abandon our ideas, or it's not that we abandon our stories, or that we attempt to dim the light in any way, but when we shine the light, it gives us the opportunity to expand and grow our thoughts and our ideas. It allows us to open up to become available to more than we've ever been available to. Change, transition, transformation, trust out loud. And so we have to get to the point then where we realize that we are not just where we realize that not just that the situation has changed, but we've changed. In the letting go, you realize that you've changed. Because what happens is you find yourself in a situation, you've changed your thinking, and you move beyond that situation, and then 5 years go by, 3 years go by, a year goes by, a month goes by, a week goes by, a day goes by, a week goes by, a day goes by, a minute goes by.